Welcome to this training screencast. This is session 2 of fact stores, and I'm just going to be covering one topic, which is set versus non-set fact stores. You need to go into a little bit of theory so that you can understand what it all means. But if we look at InfoStore, you'll see that when you're working with a fact store, this is the fact store designer, we can choose either to load the data as a set or to load it row by row. Now, what does this mean? Just looking at this conceptual diagram, you can see that when we're loading data row by row, we're taking the information or the data from the source and loading it into the data warehouse, and it's going to be doing a match on each row. I'll be coming back to this. When we're working with a set or the set-based loads, it matches by a logical key, not by each row. And this is very important for reloads. So it's not that important when we're loading up data the first time, but it's critically important when we're doing a reload of that same data. Obviously, when you're doing a reload, we need to get rid of that existing data and bring in the new data. If we don't do that, we're going to end up with duplicate data inside the data warehouse. So let's look at a concrete example. So when we're doing a row by row load, here's an example of an instrument price file. I have instrument AGL and BAT, and these are the prices. When I do my load, I'm going to end up with two records inside the data warehouse. But I realize that I've made a mistake. There was something wrong with that file, the price wasn't correct, and I get a second file with the same instrument but a different price. And I do my reload. The first thing that needs to happen is it needs to get rid of that existing record, this record over here that was loaded the first time, and it then needs to load in the new record. So we're going to end up with two records inside the data warehouse. We're going to end up with AGL and BAT. If this reload logic didn't work properly, we would end up with three records, two from the first load and one from the second load. So we can see that the net effect is AGL was updated with its price and BAT was not changed. The situation is quite different for set-based loads, and a typical example would be a position file where we have a fund with its instrument holdings. So the first time I do a load, I get my three records, fund A holding the three instruments. I realize that there was a mistake and I need to do a reload, and notice now that the second file only has two instrument holdings. So instrument Z is not held anymore by fund A. So the net effect should be to get rid of instrument Z and only have instrument X and Y. So when we do the reload, it deletes the existing records matching on logical key. So the logical key in this case is not fund and instrument, it's only fund. So when I'm doing the reload, it'll say get rid of all of the records for fund A and now reload all of the records for fund A. So the net effect is that the record with instrument Z has been removed. So when setting up a fact store, it's important to pick the right type of load. Is it a set load? Is it a row by row load? And think about reloads. Don't think about loads. And also what's important is to pick the logical key. So you can see in the fields here we have the little key icon. So this would be the logical key for the positions load. It would be date and fund. So for a date and a fund, get rid of all the existing records, and for the same date and fund, load up all of the new records. So always when you're setting up a fact store, think about this load logic and reloads, and think about the logical key.